Donald Fitch of MarijuanaPolitics.com. And our guest today is Michael Monarch of Green Valley Wellness, a Talent, Oregon dispensary. I'd like Michael to discuss his experience of coming into Southern Oregon and opening a dispensary, how it's been going, and how he sees the future.
You bet. Thank you, Don. My name, again, is Michael, and I'm a CEO of Green Valley Wellness, Southern Oregon's premier medical cannabis dispensary. Our goal was really to mimic one of the most amazing dispensaries in the nation, Harborside in California. It has a very wonderful feeling to it, almost a medi spa feel. So we feel like we've accomplished that goal of creating a wonderful, warm environment, offering a great selection of the highest quality cannabis medicine for folks at affordable prices, trying to support local growers, local extractors, local edible companies as we provide the most wonderful care that we can for patients. And it's been an incredible experience, far beyond my wildest dreams, in the sense that it's been far more rewarding, and the medical side of it has really come through for me, and seeing the results that people are receiving in their day-to-day lives.
So you get a lot of tales of people coming in and speaking of how specifically the medical cannabis has helped them.
You know, I would say on a daily and weekly level, we have people saying that it has blown them away how effective it has been for them in their lives, from epilepsy and seizures to pain management to just bringing more joy into their lives, and also sleep. A lot of relief with sleep, and those with loss of appetite and cancer procedures, and even some cancer reduction with some new cutting edge medicines and extractions with this incredible plant.
That's fantastic. You know, Michael, they say all politics is local, and I was wondering what you found in the political environment in Southern Oregon, both as you came in and now.
You know, it was a really interesting phenomenon. When we started, it was really very much against it in Southern Oregon, which is interesting because you have for probably 30 years somewhat of a black market that existed with back-to-earth people living on the land, the pre-organic movement. Some of these philosophies came out of Southern Oregon in communities and communes in the 70s. And then in 98, we not only decriminalized it, but we created a medical system. It just didn't have any dispensaries until recently. But for 15 years, successfully, and then some, have had a grower-patient related system that's been world-class and very effective for people. And about a year ago, it became available to have dispensaries that highly regulated, highly enforced, and that was the facts that kept the feds off of the backs of this system through the Cole memo that was recently released. And you know, it's been quite an adventure working with the City of Talent, helping convince them and win them over. You know, I really feel like in this industry more than others, with the 70 years of a bad rap with reefer madness and all of this crazy disinformation and misinformation, that it's so important to win hearts and minds. And some of the companies that have had problems in this marijuana space and this cannabis space are those that preempted the rules and local regulations and forced themselves upon it, almost like it was in Southern California, I would say 5 years ago, where there was almost more dispensaries than there were Starbucks, and then people backlashed and pushed back, and they weren't winning the local hearts and minds and city councils or abiding by local regulations. And so I learned from that. And me and my business partner, the COO, and myself, I'm the CEO, we decided to have something that was fully compliance driven. And so we have one mantra at Green Valley Wellness, and that is compliance, compliance, compliance. Our goal is to stay open for the patients, to serve the patients, and in doing so, that serves us and the business and the growth of this emerging, amazing industry.
I understand that Talent's kind of an oasis in Southern Oregon, and that neighboring cities like Phoenix and Medford have been much more restrictive.
And the county as a whole.
I've heard also a new county tax. I wonder if you could speak to how you've been treated differently and how other city and county actions may affect you.
You know, we're a little bit lucky in that we early on were early adopters to winning hearts and minds. And so we won over the city council from ever enacting a moratorium. The next month after they allowed for business licenses to be applied for, we had applied, we had received a business license, and then they retroactively put a moratorium in place because they were then allowed to, but only while they were forming their rules and regulations for their zoning. And they didn't want a bunch of them to come in and overlap the zoning and have a grandfather issue. So we were grandfathered in through that initial process. And now, as a whole, the City of Talent is probably one of the first cities in Oregon to have full zoning on the books, like in their zoning and regulations, as to how and when and manner and place that these can operate within the city limits and still meet the state standards of 1,000-foot distance from each other and from schools and so forth. One example is the City of Talent implemented a 500-foot limit from parks. So that was a choice they made locally, and I can't fault the local community for making the choices it wants to make. Now Medford is considering a smell ordinance and like a fence within a fence ordinance and some things that are a little extravagant and over the top, but then again, these are what are called home rules. And if that's what the local legislators who are beholden to their constituents feel that that's what their constituents want, I'm okay with that, as long as there are freedoms there that we can follow the rules and still enjoy the prospects of this emerging market or home medicine. And at the same time, this tax that they enacted was quite crazy because it was a special election with only 2 weeks to respond. They spent over $100,000, which I feel is wasted money because the state may very well turn this whole topic over on its head and disallow any local taxes, which was clearly stated in Measure 91 that we voted for. And in doing so, it would retroactively waste all this money that the county spent when they could have put it on the ballot in May and wasted no extra money. And also there was only a 38% voter turnout. It was horrendous turnout. And what they like to spin is that the percentages, it passed by 62%. Well, if we look at that, that's right around 20% of the populace. So yes, they won, but certainly not by what was truly likely what would be the real vote if it was at a regular election and people had time to respond or even know about the facts. There was very little information in the media or the news about this tax. It was also written so poorly that it's almost 100% unenforceable. So I feel that it was an absolute waste of the county's money and really just feel horrible about that myself.
Yeah, I think we got some good news on that today here at the Oregon Medical Marijuana Business Conference from State Senator Floyd Pozanski.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And I really feel like this is an emerging industry. As I've said, it has the potential to be as large as the beer industry, which is $80 billion nationwide annually. This is something that when the stigma disappears from this prohibition of this, when it gets rescheduled or descheduled on a federal level, we are going to see the floodgates open. A tsunami of interest is already here. The medical efficacy is starting to be clearly proven through double-blind studies around the world. Even though those studies aren't happening in the United States, they're happening in Israel, in Uruguay, in the Netherlands, all throughout the world. And we're seeing it clearly with our patients through our dispensary. We're well over 2,000 patients, over 2,500 patients in our unique individuals in our system, and I can tell you that I am seeing clear benefit with very little harm to these folks, and they return with a smile on their face, so happy that this new emerging option is available. Instead of literally zombifying themselves with opiates, as they have said literally those words to me, I felt like I was a walking, living zombie, to suddenly having euphoria. Instead of calling it high, let's call it what it is. These people are having joy in their lives. They're having happiness. They're feeling appetite. They're getting the rest they need and supporting their immune systems in ways that we've never even conceived of with these new ways of extracts and ways of ingestion. It really is an amazing time to be alive, an amazing time for this plant, an amazing time for this industry. And as one speaker today said, if this plant was found in the Amazon today, it would be considered one of the best discoveries of humankind in the history of the world. And so, let's remind ourselves that this has been misinformation for 70 years, that we need to unravel these lies and tell the truth.
A miracle plant with miracle effects. Well, thank you very much, Michael Monarch of Green Valley Wellness, Talent, Oregon.
Thank you so
for
much.
appearing here on Marijuana Politics and for presenting, I think, to the state an exemplary dispensary, just the exact model of what a good dispensary should be.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing Steve D'Angelo tomorrow, one of my mentors in this industry. And again, I want to thank marijuanapolitics.com for such a wonderful opportunity to speak today and reach out.